Okay, let me describe somebody and you just tell me quietly if you know them. This is a person who is great in a crisis, calm, steady, never the one yelling. When something goes sideways, everyone kind of leans toward them, because they hold it together when nobody else can. And honestly, most people who do this, they'll swear up and down they're just not a confrontational person. That's the whole story, they say. Not a big talker, conflict avoidant, no biggie. But here's what's really going on up here, and trust me, I've got a front row seat to one strange little brain. For a lot of these folks, it isn't a personality preference at all. It's something a lot deeper and a lot more automatic than just choosing to keep the peace. When it counts the most, when somebody they love has just hurt them, the words don't come out. Not because they don't have any, because something kind of flips a switch they never reached for. So today we're counting 7 signs that you don't just avoid conflict, you actually shut down instead of speaking up. And honestly, some of these are sneaky. Like, you might be doing one right now and calling it something else entirely. Stick around, friend. Let's figure this one out together. Here's the deal before we start. I'm not gonna hand you a list of flaws and walk off. That's not what this is. By the end of these 7, you're going to know exactly where you land. And more importantly, you're going to understand why your brain does this in the first place. Because once you see the machinery, it kind of stops feeling like a character defect and starts feeling like an old habit your nervous system picked up to keep you safe. So keep a little tally going in your head. Or, out loud if you're home alone and into that sort of thing. How many of these land? We'll add them up at the end. No judgment in this house, I promise. We're all just figuring out our own weird wiring here, me very much included. Sign 1. The conversation ends before it even starts. Picture it. You're in the middle of something that actually matters. Someone you care about has just said the thing that stings, and this is the moment to speak, to explain, to go, hey, that really hurt. And instead, nothing. Your mouth opens and the air just sits there. The words are right behind your teeth, you can feel them, and they will not move. Here's the wild part, and brain researchers have literally watched this happen on scans. When the hurt gets big enough, the part of your brain that turns feelings into spoken words can kind of go quiet. It just powers down for a bit, like an app freezing mid-tap. So in that moment, you're not refusing to talk. You physically can't get the sentence to load. The people in front of you, they see stubborn silence. What's really happening is a kind of temporary outage. Ring any bells yet? Yeah, I figured. Sign 2. I'm fine is your factory setting. Somebody asks what's wrong, and before your brain has even checked in with the rest of you, your mouth has already fired off the words. I'm fine. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, your chest is doing somersaults, and you are, in fact, the furthest thing from fine that a person can possibly be. This one's tricky, honestly, because it doesn't feel like shutting down. It feels like being low maintenance, easygoing, not a burden. But look, I'm fine is basically the most overused 2-word lie in the English language. And a lot of us learned it as a reflex, not a choice. The I'm fine that isn't. You just hand it out automatically, like a receipt. And the people who know you best, they've learned that I'm fine from you actually means, please ask me one more time, gently, because I can't be the one to bring it up. Honestly, if that little sentence is your default armor, you kind of already know which sign you're on. And the real kicker? The people pleading with you to just be comfortable are usually the same ones who'd happily sit with a real answer, if you ever let them have it. Sign 3. You write the perfect comeback at 2 a.m. Oh, you know this one. The fight's been over for hours. You said almost nothing in the moment, just sort of nodded and absorbed it and went quiet. And then you're lying in bed, lights off, and boom, your brain hands you the most articulate, devastating, perfectly worded response you have ever produced in your life. 3 hours too late. Useless. Thanks, brain. Real helpful. So, what's actually going on up here? Earlier, when the moment was live, your system was kind of overloaded, and the thinking, talking part of you had basically stepped out for a smoke break. Now it's quiet, You're safe, the threat is gone, and everything comes flooding back online. The words were never missing, right? They were just locked behind a door that only opens once the danger has passed. And I think there's something almost heartbreaking about that. You're not slow, and you're not bad at confrontation. Your best words just keep showing up to the wrong meeting. Sign 4. You'd rather agree than argue, even when you don't agree. This is the one that hides the best. Someone pushes, and you fold. You smooth it over. You go, no, you're right, my bad. When somewhere deep down, you are absolutely certain that you were not, in fact, wrong. You might even apologize first, just to make the tension stop. There's a name for this pattern. A therapist named Pete Walker added a 4th response to the old flight, freeze list, and he called it fawn. In plain terms, when something feels threatening, some of us don't fight it and don't run from it. We try to make it like us. We get smaller, softer, more agreeable, basically anything to bring the heat down. And look, if you grew up somewhere that conflict felt genuinely unsafe, fawning wasn't weakness, it was strategy. It worked. The trouble is, it kind of followed you into rooms where you're completely allowed to disagree now, and it still switches on like it's life or death. Recognize this one? Thought you might. Sign 5. You feel it in your body a full beat before your mouth catches up. Before you've thought a single clear thought, your body is already reacting. Throat tightens. Chest goes heavy. Maybe your face gets a little hot, or your hands go cold, or you get this weird, floaty, faraway feeling, like you're watching the whole conversation from the back of the room. That's not being dramatic, by the way. There's this idea of a kind of window, basically a zone where you can feel things and still think and talk like a regular human. Push past the top of it and you get panic, the racing heart stuff. But drop below the bottom of it and you get the opposite. You go numb, flat, quiet. The system basically pulls the power to protect you. One researcher who studies couples, John Gottman, found that once your heart rate climbs past about 100 beats a minute in a fight, the reasonable, empathetic part of your brain starts throttling right down. So you're not being cold, you're flooded, and your body hit the brakes before your mouth ever got the memo. And then later, somebody asks why you just sat there, and you genuinely don't have a good answer, because the truth that your whole body briefly went offline kind of sounds insane when you try to say it out loud. Sign 6. The bigger it hurts, the quieter you get. Here's a strange little tell. Small annoyances? You can mention those mostly. The dishes, the tone, the thing they always do. Sure. But the deep stuff, I mean the wound that actually matters, the thing you would most need to say out loud, that's the one that gets total radio silence. It feels backwards, right? You'd think the most important things would be the easiest to push out, but it's the exact opposite, and there's a reason for it. The little stuff doesn't trip the alarm. It stays inside your window, where words still work fine. The big stuff, though, the stuff all tangled up with really being seen, and maybe really being rejected, that's what trips the deepest gear, the old freeze and go still one. So, the more it means to you, honestly, the more locked up you get, which is a pretty cruel little design flaw, if you ask me. The people closest to you end up hearing the least about what's hurting you the most, which is a lonely little setup, honestly, when you actually stop and notice it. Sound familiar? Yeah, this is the one that gets me. Sign 7. You can name the exact age you learned to do this. Last one, and this is the part nobody warned you about. If you really sit with it, a lot of people who go quiet when they're hurt can trace it right back. Not to a diagnosis, to a moment. A kid, maybe 5, maybe 8, crying or upset about something that felt enormous, and a big voice saying, "Stop it, you're fine, quit being so dramatic." Or worse, going quiet got rewarded. Going quiet got you left alone, kept the peace, kept you safe. So that little brain, doing exactly what little brains do, wrote down a rule in permanent ink. Showing this gets me rejected, so hide it. And here's the thing, you got good at it. Genuinely world class. The trouble is that 6-year-old never really got the memo that it's 20 years later, and the rules have changed. They're still in there, still running that same old program, loyally following the one instruction that once kept the whole thing from falling apart. And in my book, There's nothing weak about that at all. It's just a little kid who did the best they could with what they had. Okay, deep breath. Let's put the pieces together here because 7 separate signs is one thing, but they're really all the same thing wearing 7 different coats. Every single one of these traces back to one nervous system that, somewhere along the line, decided silence was the safest exit in the room. The frozen words, the automatic "I'm fine," the comeback that shows up at 2 a.m., the folding, the body going cold, the deepest hurt staying buried. All of it. It's one system running one ancient instruction. When this feels dangerous, go still and quiet, and just wait for it to pass. That instinct, by the way, is older than language itself. It kept your ancestors alive back when the smartest move really was to freeze and not be seen. Your brain just can't always tell the difference between a real predator and someone you love raising their voice at the dinner table. Same alarm, same shutdown. And this is where it gets a little sad, because the world almost always reads this completely wrong. From the outside, a person who goes silent looks cold, distant, like they're stonewalling on purpose, like they're handing out the silent treatment just to win something. Partners feel shut out. People call it passive or stubborn or impossible to talk to. Personally, I think this is one of the most misread things in all of human behavior. We see the quiet and we just fill in the worst possible story to go with it. But the silence almost never means "I don't care." Most of the time it means the exact opposite. It means I care so much that my whole system just locked up trying to protect me from how badly this could hurt. The cost, though, is real, and I won't pretend it isn't. You can be drowning on the inside and look completely fine on the outside, and the people who love you can be standing right there, reading your silence as a door slammed in their face when really it's just a door that's stuck. And so, both of you end up hurt, both of you end up a little more convinced you're unlovable or unloved. And nobody in that room is actually the villain you each think you're staring at. So, if you counted more than a couple of these, I want you to hear something, okay? You're not broken, you're not cold, and you're not bad at relationships. You're just running an old program that worked beautifully back when you needed it, and honestly never got an update. And the good news, the genuinely good news, is that programs can be updated, slowly, gently. The freeze isn't a personality. It's a habit your body learned, and bodies can absolutely learn new things, especially when you stop treating the silence like a character flaw and start treating it like a scared little part of you that's just asking for a second. Now look, I'm a potato with a brain stapled on top, not a therapist, so if this stuff runs really deep for you, talking to someone who actually does this for a living is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. No shame in that, none at all. Honestly, the bravest quiet people I know are the ones learning, out loud, one shaky sentence at a time. So, how many landed? Be honest with yourself. If it was 1 or 2, hey, you've got a little of this in you, and now at least you know its name. If it was like 6 or 7, yeah, this one was for you, friend. And I'm really glad you stuck around all the way to the end of it. Here's the one thing I'll ask of you. Somewhere in your life, there is a quiet person, the one who's so easygoing, who never makes a fuss, who always says they're fine, the one everybody leans on and nobody ever really checks on. Send this to them, not to fix them, not to call them out, just so they feel a tiny bit less alone in their own head tonight. You probably already know exactly who I mean. And then tell me in the comments how many of the 7 did that hit. Be real with me. I read every single one, and the quiet ones in the comments are usually the ones I end up thinking about the longest. And if you want to keep figuring out that big, complicated, gorgeous brain of yours right alongside me, well, you kind of know where the subscribe button lives by now. Stay curious, you brilliant spud. I'm Spud, and I'll see you in the next one.